Mojtaba Khamenei is allegedly dead, and Ghalibaf is leading Iran, according to, we'll find out soon. I don't know the story yet.
I'll get you in a bad mood because you're not going to like the story. So there's a rumor again floating around. Let's see who the source is. Let me just type it up. SIAXE. Okay, it's a pro-Pahlavi account. So a pro-Reza Pahlavi account. And the claim, now I'll just read out what it says. My team wrote this about it. A pro-Pahlavi account just revived one of the strangest theories of this entire war. Is Iran's supreme leader actually dead? The New York Times reported in April that Mojtaba Khamenei suffered severe burns and leg injuries in the same strike that killed his father. Trump himself said in March, quote, "We don't know if he's dead or not." Now, Trump said a lot of things. Months later, still no video, no audio, no public appearances from the sitting head of state. The new claim, PDF metadata on official statements issued in Mojtaba Khamenei's name, matches the exact same software setup as Ghalibaf's own publication office. Same InDesign version.
Here, this is what he's talking about. More proof just surfaced that Mojtaba Khamenei is dead, and his Islamic regime ghost operation is being run straight out of Ghalibaf's office. As I detailed before, the pattern is obvious from day one. Ali Khamenei eliminated February 28th. Everyone in the inner circle knew instantly, yet they waited 20 plus hours to announce it on state TV. Yep. Then came the ridiculous 8-day temporary leadership council, dissolved the moment it threatened to expose cracks. Pezeshkian was too soft for the hardliners, Arafi too by the book, and they only trusted one of the three votes. So on March 8th, they rolled out Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei. No video, no audio, no public appearances, no gloating. The regime that turned every minor victory into a 24/7 propaganda festival suddenly went silent on their greatest supposed win, the bloodline continuing. Mojtaba was in the same compound, multiple waves, bunker busters. His wife, kids, sister didn't make it. His mother was announced dead. Then Far's IRGC mouthpiece walked it back. Classic damage control to avoid admitting the entire family was wiped out. A living Mojtaba would have been paraded non-stop. I'm not sure about that one because they were very much still trying to kill him. You parade him around. Remember, there was that parade of Iranian officials at one point that went out and joined people, and then a lot of them were killed because Israel used that to track them down. So I'm not sure about that one. But videos of him 24/7 on TV, that maybe. The widow would have been on TV nonstop as a grieving symbol of continuity. Instead, nothing, because there is nothing. Now the new evidence makes it undeniable, courtesy of, hey, it's my turn, who that is. OSINT shows the admins and designers of Mojtaba Khamenei's official publication office switched their computers from Mac to Windows in early June. More damning, the Adobe InDesign PDF signatures on everything issued in his name are identical to the ones coming from Mohammad Ghalibaf's publication office. Same version, 21, same Adobe PDF library, 18, same XMP core details, exact match. This isn't a coincidence or shared resources. A real Supreme Leader's office would have its own independent team, devices, workflow. Instead, the statements and PDFs bearing Mojtaba's name are being produced on the exact same setup as Ghalibaf's team. They needed the Khamenei name for legitimacy with the base and clerics. They couldn't risk a living heir who might develop his own ideas or complicate the IRGC's control. So they buried him and installed a digital puppet, now operated directly from Ghalibaf's machine. The regime that lives for theaters can't even fake a living leader with basic propaganda discipline. Just PDF files exported from the same InDesign instance. Mojtaba Khamenei is dead. The throne is occupied by a ghost, and the strings are being pulled by the IRGC faction through Ghalibaf's office. Same lies, same control obsession, same clown show, just with worse production values. Who's really running Iran right now? Definitely not Mojtaba. And who is real Donald Trump talking to when he says he's talking to Mojtaba? Well, I will say that there have been like leaders from Pakistan coming to visit Khamenei, and then they're playing along with this farce too, if this is true. This is the metadata. Like if you look at a PDF file, there'll be a lot of data buried in there about which version created it, and details like that. I don't know if this is strong enough evidence in of itself, but in any case, this is what Mario, the latest that is fueling this theory that Mojtaba Khamenei is dead.
Same Adobe library, same export details. Their conclusion, Mojtaba is dead, and Ghalibaf's office is ghostwriting him. It's been shared by Blackman and others.
I will say that it's possible. There's also a possibility that the PDFs from Mojtaba Khamenei are coming from the IRGC's office, but Mojtaba is alive. That means he talks to Ghalibaf, and Ghalibaf does the PDFs for him. There's also that possibility.
But does this claim actually hold up? It then goes on to speculating. Do you want me to give you my quick theory?
Sure.
I think everything other than him being dead may very well be true. I just think the reason there's the same metadata is that he uses the couriers, the people, to send like a written statement to Ghalibaf's office. So maybe it is true Ghalibaf's office do type it up. Mojtaba doesn't for OPSEC purposes. And Mojtaba, we know he uses human couriers to deliver the messages.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's basically what I was saying, that they use human courier. He writes down the message, and then Ghalibaf's office puts the PDF out. That would make sense.
So my assumption is that this is it. So the metadata could be true, but doesn't mean he's dead. It means he doesn't have an office, or he's not using any computers for obvious reasons.
I think that's an excellent explanation. Oh,
Thank you, Larry.
Listen. Okay, let's just assume he's dead. So what?
I that's my second reaction. In that, what does it change? Maybe it's a propaganda victory for Trump, so it does change that a little bit.
What difference does it make to the current situation? Does it mean Iran's ready to surrender? Does it mean Iran's given up? I mean, it's like, okay,
I'll give you a possibility. Let me know what you think. Could it lead, if he does die, if he is dead, couldn't it lead to more fracturing within the IRGC? Maybe there could become a power struggle as well. Today, one of the guests told me that they're worried there could be factions within the IRGC that are causing a bit of havoc in the Strait of Hormuz. They're the ones that attacked the ship today because they're not happy with the MOU. Do you think that's a possibility?
I give low probability to that.
That's another thing that happened today. A ship was attacked in the Strait of Hormuz, and probably crew jumped a lot because of that. No, you'd think a ship getting hit in the Strait of Hormuz would make it jump, but manipulation market's insane.
They attacked the ship because the ship was violating Iranian protocol. The PSAG is very clear about this is how you're going to go through the Strait of Hormuz. Just because we're not charging a fee for 60 days doesn't mean you get to turn off your transponder and try to sneak through. Nope, that's not going to fly. Boom, we'll hit you. So
yeah, from the reports, this ship was hit right off Oman's coast. So this ship was hit right here. So it's instead of taking the route the IRGC wants you to take, it was doing this sneaky thing where it's going around right around the edge. That's why it got attacked.
Yeah, it is, particularly for the Pahlavi folks coming out and said, oh, he's using a cutout. Yeah, they'd like to locate him so they could kill him.
Yeah.
And
Israel would instantly try to kill him if they knew where he was.
Exactly, yeah. They're trying to instigate him so he responds, shows proof of life.
Yeah. And they've learned, he doesn't have to be out in public parading about. Let's put it this way. If he's dead, everybody else is doing a damn fine job of acting like he's alive.
But there have been visitors from Pakistan, like a general that went to Iran specifically to meet the supreme leader. So either he is also part of the cover-up, or the supreme leader might actually be alive.
Not seen anybody stand up and suggest, an alternative policy, or say, oh, the Ayatollah, he's full of it. He's lost his touch. None of that. There's no open challenges to him.
Mm.
So
I
think your instincts are right.
Yeah, I do remember the early days of the war when there were reports about the fracturing within the IRGC. Obviously, it was impossible to verify them. I found them to be pretty believable at the early days of the war, in the midst of the havoc and the intensity of the bombing. And then as the war progressed, we saw pretty good cohesion. And I think the the Iranian leadership, the IRGC, and the executive branch all posted the same thing to show solidarity. Remember that tweet that they all did? Same tweet.
Yep. Yeah,
So,
I think a lot of the hopes about divisions were just that Western hopes.
Well, supposedly the entire regime was going to collapse in the first 3 days. Yeah, I think a lot of wishful thinking.
I agree. There's a lot of cohesion within the Iranian government. Let's since we brought up the Hormuz incident, there is a bit of a power struggle happening in Hormuz. So Oman,
There is.
I think they were pressured by the US, but let me see if I've got a good summary here. So it started off with Oman opening their own, the Omani side of the Strait of Hormuz and asking ships to go through it. And then so it was like the Omani IMO designated transit corridor. The IRGC rejected it pretty quickly, and they called it unacceptable and completely dangerous. And then they said all vessels have to use Iran's officially declared routes and coordinate with the IRGC Navy via VHF Channel 16. And they started warning ships. There was a recording that was coming out. Then we started seeing on the tracking software. You're watching it. I know you like watching the ship trackings.
Yeah, marinetraffic.com. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you enjoy it. I remember the various interviews. And then, so then ships started turning around. And then Iran, so then we have, and then at least 3 vessels, including 2 oil supertankers, turned around while attempting to transit the Strait of Hormuz via the route close to Omani's coastline, according to Bloomberg. The reason for the course changes remains unclear, although 2 maritime intelligence firms published what they said were Iranians' naval broadcasts instructing ships not to proceed. While some vessels reversed course, others continued along the Omani route, and then a vessel was struck near Oman's coastline, according to UK MTO. The Wall Street Journal, according to 2 senior U.S. officials, reports that IRGC.
You can look at the Hormuz Strait live tracker, but this map right here only shows ships that have their transponder on, and appears. Oh, look, right here, another ship with its transponder on, going through a Turkish ship. It's there's a power struggle, and that's pretty daring considering the ship was just attacked. So there is this route here. In the middle, there are apparently mines. So there is this route to go through, and then the one Iran wants you to go through is this one. And a bit of a power struggle going on there. I think other ships will end up getting attacked.
He was responsible for attacking the ship. So I think there's a power struggle that's more about power and influence rather than money. I think it's about who's going to control the Strait of Hormuz long term, and this is what we're seeing right now, the tug of war.
Well, I think that tug, it's internal to Oman. In other words, I'd like to know who in Oman actually made that decision. And was it exactly
It probably was under huge pressure from the United States.
reflecting? Because the people that have been talking to Iran had a completely different point of view. So don't rule out that there's somebody that has, been paid by CIA or MI6 or Mossad to, throw a wrench in the machinery and gum things up.
Yep.
Yeah, or there's just pressure. Oman is being pressured by the West because if the West starts to sanction Oman, it will impact it. And there's a lot of dependence on Oman on the West, on the global economy, and foreign direct investments. At the same time, Oman, first can't piss off Iran just up its north, number one. And number two, there's a lot of money to be made with the Strait of Hormuz. So it's a pretty tricky position for Oman. I don't know. There's actually someone who wrote a good summary. They said they're going through how the Americans are really acting in bad faith, according to that report. They were saying how in Lebanon, the Israelis are advancing, and I'll go through what's happening in Lebanon.
They are.
In the Strait of Hormuz, they're trying to circumvent what Iran is setting up. And then there's one more example. I think they're talking about the mixed messages, how the Americans are saying IAEA or inspectors are going into Iran, but Iran never confirmed it. And then they're saying, we will unfreeze Iran's assets, but they have to use it to buy American agricultural products. But the Iranians said, no, that was never agreed. So there was someone put out a nice piece just saying how the Americans are acting in bad faith. And that's their assumption was because the Iranians opened up the Strait of Hormuz too quickly, oil prices went down too quickly, and that gave more breathing space for the Americans, and they're abusing it. So that's the conclusion they were making in their analysis.
Yeah, except look at marine traffic.
When the straits opened, all the ships with oil that had been dying to get out just flooded out, and that gave a big temporary surge of oil to the world. And that combined with, I think, open manipulation on Wall Street and a flood of media articles about, straight opening up, oil prices will crash, and that's what's responsible for the current oil prices. It won't last. It's the low before a huge spike in oil.
Traffic.com, where are the ships?
That was a while ago. Yeah, there's none now on the Omani side. Yeah,
unless all the transponders are turned off at all. But if the transponders are off, Iran's going to be hitting them because they are trying to run undercover.
Exactly.
Oh wow! I'm looking at marinetraffic.com.
Iran is trying to set up the same thing Turkey has through here. Turkey ships going to the Black Sea through this area have to pay a toll, and all ships do, and that's what Iran's trying to do with the Strait of Hormuz. Of course, United States doesn't want that because it makes Trump look terrible. It wouldn't be a disaster for the world economy if they did a toll. It just would be. I mean, this is Trump that's sanctioning Iran and wants to weaken Iran, letting them collect $40 billion or more total a year. That would make Iran stronger.
So pretty. No wonder why you enjoy looking at that map.
Yeah, it tells you,
in your hobby.
It's real time.
I'm seeing it now.
And we're not doing an advertising for them, but there's nothing. There's one ship that the Nirvana, that's destination AESHJ.
By the way, have you gone to the Persian Gulf Strait Authority website? There's a website for it. I can't remember. Oh, there it is. Is that it? pgsa.ir, I think it is. If you go into it, and so I did this, and I recommend people watching to do this. It's a fun exercise. I was with Sal, who's a marine historian and maritime historian and analyst, and he told me about the website. Went to it together, and then if you go in there, if you want to know who controls the Strait of Hormuz, just go to that website, and then there's a form there. Okay, whenever there's a ship that has to go through, they have to put the date, the request date. Actually, if you can go on this website and show it to the audience, for anyone that can't look at it, if you can show that to the audience, Stephanie, that would be nice. But essentially, it's just a form when you go to the website.
Let me just try to find that website. Finally. And so this is thing, apply for a permit. So what did you want me to do?
You have to put the cargo quantity, cargo value, cargo type, the type of vessel, your IMO number, etc. And then there's country of origin. First thing I did when I clicked this, a drop-down menu. I searched for Israel because I'm like, okay, will Iran have Israel as an option? Israel is not an option. I'm like, okay, interesting. Not surprised.
Israel is
maybe
isn't an option.
Palestine. Maybe they called it Palestine. And I checked Palestine, and then Palestine is there. So there it is. Yeah, so state of Palestine. So the Iranians are trolling. There it is. So if you scroll down, look country of scroll down, and then down there it is. This country. Okay, there it is. Stop there. Up more. Okay, on the left, can you see origin country? Click on that. Yeah, click on it. And I see a drop down. Click on it, Stephanie, the origin country, and it should do a drop down.
To the arrow on the right-hand side of the box.
Can you see origin country on the top left corner, Stephanie? It's not showing, but I clicked. Okay, it's not showing on the screen. Click on the arrow a bit more to the right. It's not, the website's not too perfect. Try again. Anyway, so if you do it on the website, if you got someone goes there and does it, clicks on that, it actually would show. Yeah, you can click on it. It works for me. Even if you don't click on the arrow, it works for me. It's fine. And it shows Palestine, state of Palestine. So it's just a funny thing that I noticed yesterday in one of my interviews on, if you're wondering who controls the Strait of Hormuz. And obviously what happened today is another example. Now, the big question is, will the Americans retaliate? I don't think so. There hasn't even been any mention of this attack on the ship. But it shows that things are still pretty tense. And then if you mix that with what's happening in Lebanon, Larry.
Here we go. It's a different form, so maybe I don't have the web right.
It's not looking good there. There's clashes that broke out. Apparently, the Israelis were advancing on a town called Bet Yahon. The Hezbollah soldiers ambushed them. They killed one IDF soldier. That was this morning, I think. And then the IDF started shelling that town. So it just feels like in the last 24 hours, we're seeing things going to go back downhill. Slowly but surely going downhill. A ship attack in the Strait of Hormuz, clashes in Lebanon.
It's still in line with what I expect to happen. I expect things to just drag on until August when things get so bad in oil that Trump gives in to everything and we finally get a resolution to this.
And on the American side, the rhetoric is shifting and there's obviously disagreements on what the negotiations really involve. How many assets will be unfrozen? Can that money be used freely, etc.?
You're familiar with the expression "talk's cheap"?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk right now.
Yeah, what's the United States going to do? I mean, practically, what can they do? Are they going to send a ground force? No. Are they going to sail ships, U.S. naval ships, into the Strait of Hormuz to confront? No. So, are they going to start launching new airstrikes? Okay, if they launch new airstrikes, Iran's going to fire back. All right, and then the MOU's dead, and the United States is out of luck. Remember, it's the United States that wanted this MOU, not Iran. Why? Because right now, let me read you something that I received from
Every day we're getting closer to the midterms and closer to oil shortage.
this energy analyst. Stand by
Oh,
here.
yeah, you read. I remember you read something interesting from him yesterday. Same guy.
Yes, same guy. This is, he said, this guy with years of experience, 35 years, as he says.
Mm-hmm.
The geopolitical and USA energy situation is more than dire. It is a complete fucking shit show. Worst I have ever seen in my 35 years in the sector.
Wow.
So what he's talking about is the issue of diesel and aviation fuel.
Yes, apparently before gasoline shortages, diesel shortages or airplane fuel shortages will hit first. And it's the heavy crude that's used to make both diesel and jet fuel that they'll have to choose in the United States. Do you make diesel for truckers or jet fuel for the planes? Because there won't be enough for both.
Can't produce both at a refinery at the same time. If you're gonna refine a barrel of oil to produce diesel, then you do that. Or you can refine a barrel of oil to do aviation fuel. You can do that, but you can't do both at the same time. So if the United States decides to get back into the business of bombing Iran, all of a sudden the use of jet fuel is going to go up above what's already out there in demand by the civilian sector. And
That's interesting.
we're going to
I never considered that now an additional complicated factor to Trump deciding to bomb Iran is that jet fuel. Yes, all these refueling tankers that refuel the jets flying to bomb Iran, that uses a lot of jet fuel. And if you, it could lead to a shortage of jet fuel.
run out in 2 weeks.
So you're explaining why the Americans can't do anything. Well, there's one of my guests today. You might know him. Great guy. He was on the show for the first time, and he made a point. He was telling me, Mario, he and others are actually upset at the Iranians for not doing enough. So his name is Ali Alizadeh. And he said, Mario, a lot of people in Iran, and me included, he's Iranian, lives, I think, outside of Iran. I think I could be wrong. He's like, a lot of us are upset because right now there's clashes happening in Lebanon. In the past few hours, Israeli artillery began shelling northern Beit Yahon and the countryside between Aita El Jabal and the Beit Yahon Tehbin Highway. The artillery fire was to provide IDF 679th Brigade cover to advance north of the town, so they're advancing. Hezbollah launched an ambush on the advancing IDF troops. The ambush led to clashes between the two, lasting well over an hour. Israel responded with 2 airstrikes against Hezbollah positions in the northern Beit Yahon. So there's advancements by the Israelis and clashes. And
That doesn't sound like a withdrawal from Lebanon.
tells us that, Mario, there's clashes right now in Lebanon. There's been clashes on a daily basis. Israel's not pulling out of their territory. If they're advancing slightly, but they're advancing nonetheless. Yet Iran went to the negotiations, and Iran is still having negotiations with the Americans. So he's actually upset that the Iranians are not doing enough. And he's like, he explained that maybe the Iranians are too worried to jeopardize a deal that includes unfreezing a lot of capital, a lot of money for the country, for Iran. But at the cost of Hezbollah, not I'm not talking about Hezbollah getting bombed and Beirut getting bombed, but there are violations on the Israeli side. He's like, Mario, this is dangerous because Iran needs to show the axis of resistance. It has their back, and this is not a good look.
Well, it may not be a good look, but the issue is Hezbollah getting beaten, or is Hezbollah fighting back and inflicting casualties on the Israelis? It looks like it's the latter. And so you step in and say,
one IDF soldier dead. If you believe the reports, there might be IDF soldiers dead that we don't know about. But there's undoubtedly a lot of Hezbollah dead too. Iran needs to at least stop Israel from advancing. The end goal is to get Israel completely out of Lebanon. If they can't, Israel doesn't even have enough leverage to stop Israel from advancing. Then what are the point of the negotiations at all?
It's like if you got a friend who's in a fight, and as long as it's a fair fight and he's holding his own, you don't jump into it. You let him finish it. So I think from Iran's standpoint, I understand the frustration of someone like the gentleman you're mentioning, but just dropping a couple of ballistic missiles into Israel, or actually, they shouldn't drop it into Israel. They should fire it into the area of Lebanon where the Israelis are operating. They could do that. But, I don't know what other constraints they're under with the Pakistanis and the Chinese.
IRIB did say today a source close to Iran's negotiating team reminded that Israeli withdrawal from occupied Lebanese territories is a red line and precondition for any deal. So they haven't shifted from their position.
Right.
So maybe this is...
Maybe it's the final deal. They still expect Israeli out of Lebanon. But what happens before then, they're not going to jeopardize the deal every time Israel does something provocative. Maybe that's their attitude. But they're still pressuring Vance and Trump to get Israel out.
Just strategic patience, or for the reasons you've just shared. The source said the MOU guarantees Lebanon's sovereignty and territorial integrity, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's the same story here. Okay, that's an interesting story. This is an article by The Cradle. Netanyahu, this is a concerning one. Netanyahu reportedly convinced Trump Israel should not withdraw from southern Lebanon. Sources close to Yedioth, familiar with
Then the deal is dead.
Lebanon-Israeli negotiations, said today that the fifth round of talks has been the most difficult, the Israeli-Lebanese negotiations so far. We did talk about it yesterday. The Lebanese didn't want to photo op, and they were upset with the negotiations. The Israelis were asking for the Lebanese to have pilot zones outside the territory that is under Israeli occupation. The Lebanese forces are like, hey, no, the Lebanese army, we're like, no, we want to focus on the territory under your control because we need to free our territory. So that was a disagreement we talked about yesterday.
Right.
Israeli officials also said that Netanyahu convinced Trump that Tel Aviv should not withdraw from southern Lebanon while remaining committed to a full ceasefire. Under this framework, Israel would supposedly not initiate attacks, but would retain the right to act against threats and respond to attacks.
It wants to build settlements. It wants to keep this land that it seized, Israel. It's demolished all the cities there, all the villages, and with bulldozers leveling every building. And now it wants to build settlements. It doesn't, Netanyahu does not want to get out of. The most you think he would be willing to agree to was, okay, we won't go any further, mostly, and we'll just build our settlements in this area, and we'll get the rest later.
Israeli officials said both Israeli and Lebanese negotiators are frustrated by the inclusion of a Lebanon-related clause in the U.S. MOU, blah, blah, blah. Officials in Israel and the U.S. believe current political conditions make it highly unlikely Netanyahu will approve withdrawal from Lebanon, especially ahead of elections.
Yep.
As a result, U.S. efforts are focused on the pilot zone issue rather than withdrawal. On Iran, Israeli officials assess that Washington is unlikely to resume military action before U.S. midterm elections in November. They believe Trump could adopt a tougher stance afterwards if he concludes Tehran is acting in bad faith. So two big things you want to get your thoughts on. Number one, do you believe Netanyahu did convince Trump that not to keep forcing Bibi to pull out of southern Lebanon? That's question number one. Question number two, do you agree with their analysis that Trump may become more hawkish again against Iran after the
I think once the oil crisis hits, then Trump will be desperate and he'll force Israel out of Lebanon. So, end of July, August timeframe.
terms?
First, I don't believe, I think Bibi's lying because I think Trump recognizes that Trump's goal right now is to avoid an economic catastrophe, which is probably he's not going to be able to do.
Yep, I agree completely.
That's number one. So to that end, he's going to try to keep.
If Trump had agreed to the Iranian deal on April 4th when it was on his desk, instead of diddling around for a month and a half, he might have been able to greatly minimize the oil shock coming this summer.
Putting pressure on Israel to get the withdrawal. If come the midterms, if he gets clobbered in the midterms and loses big time, he's not going to, he can try to order a bunch of things, but he's not going to be in a powerful position.
No, he won't be in a position to start any wars against Iran. No one is. I said, Iran holds Strait of Hormuz closed 6 months, they win. It establishes such a deterrent that no one will ever think of attacking them again, or at least not for a long time. But that's still going to play out. I consider the Strait of Hormuz semi-closed right now anyway. And we just need to wait for the oil shock.
And what about, you don't think Netanyahu would be able to convince Trump for Israel not to pull out because it would jeopardize the deal? Because if Iran doesn't allow it, I don't know how Israel could convince Trump not to pull out. If Iran says, hey, you don't pull out, the MOU is breached.
No, exactly right. I don't see. So Trump's deal is, does he, how bad? He needs the MOU to give him the hope that they can get the oil moving again. Because if the oil's not moving again, the United States is dead.
Yep.
So he can't do anything to jeopardize the oil. And if Iran uses that card, Trump will have to fold.
Well, I don't know about the United States being dead, just very badly hurt. It would need to be completely closed for another 6 months to be dead. What would be dead is his chance in the midterms.
Right.
Then there's the other wild card. I know we discussed it yesterday, but today there's a report. Did I tell you yesterday that there's a Syrian military buildup on the border? Did I say that or no? On the Lebanese border?
No, you didn't.
No one's mentioned that so far. What's that about?
Yeah, so we talked about the theory gaining traction. So Syrian troops have reportedly been amassing along the Lebanese border since April. The pace picked up sharply after Trump's June 14 announcement inviting al-Shara to the White House and telling him about telling him he would like him to target Hezbollah. And I talk about
If Syria gets involved in Lebanon, especially on the Israeli side for the United States, and yes, these people ruling Syria right now is a U.S. puppet. It was the remnants of ISIS that Mossad and CIA funded to genocide Christians and take out Assad. So if they get involved in Lebanon, oh my God, the war's back on. I mean, yeah, the MOU is dead. We'll go back to Iranian missiles raining down.
the areas. 4 deployment zones are named, and they go through the various zones. Now, I asked Ehud Olmert about it earlier today, the former prime minister of Israel. And he said that, no, sorry, it was not him. It was the gentleman I told you about, the one Ali, the guy that I just mentioned earlier, the gentleman, because he wrote a book on Hezbollah, and he said, Mario, he believes that there is, sorry, it's another guest, not him either. I'm forgetting. But yeah, the other guest said, Anas, what he said is, Mario, there's actually pro-Assad forces that escaped from Syria into Lebanon. They're in Lebanon. And the Syrian military is amassing at the border with Lebanon in case those forces decide to attack Syria and engage in a coup. So this is more of a defensive deployment rather than a plan to attack Hezbollah.
Oh, okay, that's a little bit reassuring if true.
This is the explanation he gave me, and he dismissed those concerns. And I know you've dismissed those concerns. What you told me yesterday is the Syrian military just doesn't have the capacity to attack Hezbollah after the Israel bomb.
Yes, Israel has been bombing everything military in Syria and trying to demilitarize the country. And so I don't think they have much left militarily to do anything.
Sustain an attack. How many are being massed at the border? Anybody say?
Yeah, I didn't have numbers. No, it was just a vague statement about increase.
Is it 25? Is it 25? Is it 2,500? Is it 25,000? You know, that it makes a difference.
Yeah, the poor's are hurt the most in these conflicts in Lebanon right now, specifically.
So
I'll try to find out.
I always believe specific information that you can then verify.
I have a feeling the number is not that high. Just my personal opinion. But just want to point out, Netanyahu did convene the cabinet 4 days ago to discuss this exact issue of the increasing risk that Syria will make a move on Lebanon. And to be honest, with the amount of crazy shit happening in the last few years, from the Russia-Ukraine war to the Venezuela operation to the Iran war, there's just so many wild shit I thought would never happen, ended up happening. I just don't want to dismiss anything.
Well, plus, the situation in Syria is not exactly stable. So if you don't have a stable control of your home country, it's unlikely you're going to go off on some foreign military adventure.
True, unless you want to rally the people around the flag, so people will just forget domestic disagreement.
Yeah, but that only works, Mario, if you're attacked first. You need some false flags to rally the people, then you do the military venture. If you do what Trump did, which is just attack out of the blue, a country that wasn't threatening you in any way, then people usually turn against that.
And clashes that are happening in Syria, they'll come together when there's a common enemy. You know, there's always the joke, if an alien comes to Earth, we'll stop fighting each other, we'll start focusing on the aliens. So I think it's the same thing here. But there's no specific numbers has been shared. Broader reports on recent Syrian border activity under Ahmad al-Shara generally refer to thousands of troops plus rocket units, armored vehicles for border security, smuggling prevention. So actually the article also talks about the Qusayr corridor reportedly runs Captagon, an illicit amphetamine type drug trafficked across the region. Control there could mean money, not just positioning. And also it could be just blocking off routes that supply Hezbollah. That could be another thing. So it could be other things than amassing troops to attack Lebanon. But it's definitely worth keeping an eye on it.
Yeah, it could be try to stop aid reaching Hezbollah from Iran via Syria.
No,
So
I
that's that
agree.
story.
I mean, that's what you want to pick up. See if they really are amassing troops, then there ought to be a clear signs of logistics, resupply tents, et cetera, and ways to get the supplies forward to the troops.
This one you'll find interesting. JD Vance made a comment today. I'll read out the lame comment, then I'll read the interesting one. The lame one is Israel had, and every other nation in the region has the right to self-defense, but we want to make sure everyone has the right to self-defense in a background where we're talking about how to de-escalate. So he's not extreme criticism of Israel. He's saying, hey,
That is directed entirely at Israel, because Israel is basically, we have the right to self-defense, and that means no one else has the right to self-defense. So just saying that everyone in the region has the right to self-defense, that's completely against Israelis' entire mantra. Like, just look at what they did to Syria, just bombing them. Syria did nothing to provoke this, but when Assad fails, they just bomb every military installation in Syria just to make sure that Syria can't defend itself. Yeah. Only Israel has the right to self-defense, according to Israel.
hey, self-defense is one thing, but stop escalating. Now, This is the lame comment. The interesting comment, I want to get your thoughts on. He said the following. The Emiratis, which you've been very critical about the way they've approached this war, the Emiratis, by far the most hawkish, by far the most pro-Israel country in the GCC, are having conversations with the Iranians that have never happened before, including with the IRGC, about various types of economic incentives. And he mentioned it in a positive way, that the Gulf is working together with Iran. That was in an interview today on Unheard. So interesting, JD Vance mentioned this. So it seems that the UAE, which was considered the most hawkish, is adapting with this new reality, which is a really good sign.
Yeah, no, exactly right.
Now, let's not even get into who has a right to a land because of religious decrees. There's people who actually live on land. There's people who say, we were promised this land by God 2,000 years ago. And yeah, it's a mess.
The situation's fluid. But once it becomes clear that the Saudis and Qataris are joining with Iran and Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt, there's going to be a strong incentive for these other regional leaders to jump in and try to move forward too.
Yeah.
Be careful, Proton Stale. People born there and actively using land to survive have the right to it. Wouldn't that apply to Israeli settlers? Some of those settlements have been there a long time.
It was an interesting report. Now, lastly, on the Russia-Ukraine war. So I have nothing else on the Iran war. There's obviously the price of oil went down to what it was before the war. Just hit crude oil hit the same.
Which is just ridiculous. I mean, the supply is not increasing. How in the hell does that happen? How does the price come down when the supply is down and the demand is up?
Again, as someone who's seen this exact thing before, and I was going absolutely crazy back then when I was blogging about the state of the agricultural market, and it was just as bad as the oil market right now. And then, yes, food prices exploded, as expected, because the media was lying, everyone was lying, Wall Street was lying, the USDA was lying, and there was actually a huge grain shortage.
What sort of magical world is this? This is nothing more than market manipulation and attempts to control the narrative.
I don't know, Larry, we have to trust the markets.
Boy, well, I learned long ago. The market.
Me too. I learned long ago. Nope, you don't.
Sir, crooked casino, inside trader.
This is. I'm actually going to play a clip. Have you seen the Sparta clip where the messenger comes and then they yell, "This is Sparta," and kick him into the well?
No.
So this is. I want to show you that clip. This is what happens when I. All right. So I'm going to send you this clip, Stephanie. Play it, and I want you to watch this. This is me. The messenger, the black guy is the messenger there. You can play it, please, Stephanie. I've just sent you. Play it from minute 30. So the black guy with the piercing is the messenger, and the white guy with the big beard, looks like a Zeus with the abs, is the Spartan. Okay, so play that clip, please, Stephanie. I'm the messenger, and Larry is the Spartan guy, and this is me, the messenger, sharing a story that I know would trigger Larry. This is one of them. Oil prices, whenever I mention that, is one of them. Play it at minute 30 with audio. You'll know the scene. Minute 30, play it with audio.
No.
Actually, no need for audio. No need for audio. Yeah, the movie's 300. Yeah, did I call it Sparta? Did I?
Right.
Just play there. Yeah, this is fine. Play there. There you go. So this is Larry listening to me telling me about the oil prices, or this is me telling Larry about the degradation of Iran's military capabilities in one of our discussions, or this is me telling Larry that Mojtaba Khamenei could be dead. This is me telling him, this is Larry not happy with me, just angry. But I'm like, Larry, I'm just the messenger. I'm just sharing what XYZ reported. And it's not me that believes that, Larry. And then he looks at me like everything's fine. I'm like, okay, Larry understands. Okay. And then he looks at the audience. This is the audience. Gives Larry the nod. And Larry's like, all right, Mario, I'm sick of the shit. I know you're the messenger, but I'm going to treat you like you're the source of the news.
Sort it out.
Exactly. Anyway, so I want to go through Ukraine, get your thoughts on what's happening.
I would never kick you into the bottomless pit.
But hey, that was a good example. I know you always reference movies from like 40 years ago.
Yeah.
I thought I'd reference a relatively more
Or
recent
Messenger.
movie, to make an example, similar to how you always do this. I'm trying to follow your strategy here.
Yeah, good man.
It would have been more effective with the sound, though.
All right, so we have. I want to get your thoughts on what's happening in Russia, Ukraine, the good and the bad. I'm seeing all these explosions happen in Moscow, all these drone attacks. We've seen that one of the tanks, the oil tanks, I'm guessing storage tanks, explode, and the top kind of flew off. I kind of went.
I actually am going to go into the situation in Moscow in a different video, so I might end this here. It's a messed up situation in the Middle East, just like it's been for hundreds, if not thousands of years, but a little more messed up than normal these days. Anyway, this will be on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Come watch on Kick or Twitch. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.